moving on to memory of the season. So there's been quite a few memories this season, and we talk about positive memories here before everybody talks about the Bournemouth 4-1, because we after this season, after this podcast, we don't mention that match ever again. So is there any points? I think you were going to mention about it earlier, and we've got one of them is the Kelechi Iheanacho Everton at home 90+4 goal. Do you want to expand on that a bit further and why you think that's the memory of the season?
It was absolutely brilliant. He came on and this was the first game we really sort of started to see the transformation in Kelechi. And he got the assist for Vardy earlier on in the game. And it was the whole sort of suspense with the VAR. I think a lot of us thought it was going to get ruled out and stuff. And then just sort of seeing how the team celebrated together on the sideline, and just sort of how the absolute scenes in the stands as well. It was just, I think everything about that was brilliant. And that was when everyone was so behind the team.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember being in the ground for that one, and everybody went crazy. Everybody was completely checking trying to get their video up on their phone, trying to find out beforehand, because VAR, which again is another chat for another day, it comes out on the telly before it comes out in the ground. So we were trying, and then you'd hear a few roars that would go around the ground, and then eventually it was announced goal, and the celebrations are something to behold. So if you've not seen that, I'd recommend you research that and have a look at the post reaction of the whole team jumping on Brendan Rodgers as well, and Kelechi Iheanacho. James, is there any memory of the season that you have that stands out as the best?
I think the Iheanacho one was amazing. Obviously, the Southampton 9-0 was probably my biggest one. Not seen us play like that for 90 minutes in a long time. I think bad memories. I think COVID's destroyed football as we know it. Here in Leicester, it's been awful to see. I don't think the fans have responded. I don't think the players have responded to it very well either. And it was just awful for me to watch every single game, because they were just in like training matches that we weren't bothered about. I don't know what you thought, Alex. Obviously, you get to see the games all the time on the TV. I don't know what you thought the comparison was to a normal game to when COVID hit.
Definitely a different environment entirely, because I think the one thing that I really love about football matches compared to any other sport is how much the crowd and the fans affect the game, and how the momentum of the game, how the game, moves forward. Because being here in North America, I'm a huge hockey fan. I watch American football from time to time, and I watch baseball, and baseball doesn't have a lot of fans in the stands most times. American football, it's such a stop and go sport. As a Canadian, hockey is huge with crowds, and we're seeing it right now with the playoffs in the NHL. There's no fans, and the games are boring, and the atmosphere just seems dead. And I'm seeing the same exact thing with football. And it definitely, I think, takes a toll not only on the fans, but I think it also takes a huge toll on the players, because at the end of the day, they're kicking the ball around trying to score, but I think the fans really motivate them.
I think that's a good point. It's a nice perspective as well, because obviously it's our national sport here in the UK and kind of over Europe as well. So we only hear that. We don't really hear that much about hockey and other sports as much. But yeah, appreciate that. I'll get back to the memory of the season as well. So just on that, and is there any other moment? Well, you mentioned earlier. Sorry, Alex. That any other memory of the season that you'd say was like that? That was a moment there that was like. That really caught your attention. So far we've got the Southampton 9-0 and the Kelechi Iheanacho at home 90+4 goal.
I think for me, it was Jamie Vardy getting his 100th Premier League goal. It seemed like it was talked about for weeks. He was sitting at 99 goals. Everyone was like, well, is this the game? Is this the game? He had many opportunities to actually score, and he seemed to just whiff every single time. His frustration was clearly shown on his face. And, when he did get his 100th goal, it wasn't the prettiest goal. It wasn't the nicest goal. It went in, but you could see the relief on his face. And he's like, I did it. And, I think the biggest thing for that is, when we first signed Vardy, back in the day when we signed him for £1 million, and everyone's like, really? £1 million? This guy's going to be a wash. and then you see him now as, 100 Premier League goal scorer. I think that is a huge accomplishment. And, yeah, the goal might not have been the nicest thing, but seeing that accomplishment, it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely a big moment, especially for this season. We'll look back on as one of our greatest strikes and one of the biggest achievements of it as well. I'm not going to lie, I kind of forgot about that one a little bit when we came to it. The last one I've got for the momentum and the shift of momentum, kind of the memory of the season, had quite a few of them. So one we mentioned before was the first goal against Arsenal, for the way that swung. Another one as well was the Maddison goal against Tottenham when we played at home. For that, we were going right against the field of play. Tottenham had just had a goal marked off for offside, whether it was or not, and James Maddison slid it in front. They slid in a goal quite well in front of the Gazaniga, and that would be one that I'd put in as well. So I just go through from them three. Which one would you say, James, would be your memory of the season?
I think the Iheanacho goal, as Ant said, it went to VAR. Everyone thought it was getting disallowed, and it's just the joy on all the players' faces to see him get that goal. So for me, that memory will stay with me for a long time. The kind of brotherhood mentality that we had when we won the league seemed to be back that day. And
I think the scenes that we thought VAR was going against us, and the fact that it didn't at that moment in time, and it was the last touch of the game pretty much. But yeah, over to you, Anne. For them three, which one do you think would be your memory of the season?
I'm so torn in between the Spurs one and the Everton one, but because with the Spurs one, I remember because they were singing earlier on in the game, because I don't know if you remember, Ndidi had the goal ruled out, and they're singing about like VAR being one of their own and all of that. And it was the most Tottenham thing, like going 2-0 up to lose 2-1, which was just brilliant. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the Iheanacho one, but they're both just absolutely brilliant.
I'd agree. What about you, Alex? What would you think your memory of the season of obviously from a different perspective? I know you don't manage to get too many games, but what would be your memory of the season overall?
I have to say the Nacho versus Everton, because I even remember standing up, and because I always watch the games on TV, so I get to watch the replay right as it happens. And I just remember being like, that's a goal, that's a goal, that's a goal. And, everybody in the crowd's waiting for it, but I already know it's a goal, and then now you're just hoping that VAR actually agrees with you at the end of the day, because, I think that's the biggest thing. And so I think that's the biggest memory for me when it comes to that, because just seeing the celebration, it just wasn't like we won. It was like the entire team erupted and the entire stadium erupted.
Yeah, I agree. From the stadium perspective, just to let you know, obviously you see it you got the result before us. There was a few cheers around the ground from where we were sitting. I got an elbow in the ribs. I got a kiss on the face within 5 seconds. I had somebody fall over in front of me, but everybody was just getting absolutely carried away. It was really, really good to see. So I'd agree. The best moment of the season, we would give it to Kelechi Iheanacho versus Everton for the 90+4 goal.